Over the course of the last few years, I've noticed more and more of a decay in the mental state of people from the Call of Duty community. It always seems to derive from one reason, that reason being Activision. It's no secret Activision has definitely poisoned itself and created a hole for themselves repeatedly in the past when it comes to COD. It always seems like they dig themselves a hole and then climb out of it and then just do it again somehow. It's really impressive, also stupid, but I kind of want to go over how exactly they tainted the series and beg the question if it's even worth it to continue making the games altogether. I want to start this by saying this is all coming from someone whose childhood household had been getting COD since like Call of Duty 2. I'm no stranger to the COD community, and I mean that in like every way possible. I feel as though I can say, as a retrospective COD fan, they really have not kept their track record pristine. It feels like the franchise hasn't really gotten the love each game deserves from the developers for a few years now. If you remember in 2005, the games became a yearly thing, and this really was Activision being in a sort of grind state where they wanted to make the best first-person shooter they could with the studios they had. They always specifically went for World War II for some reason. They liked keeping the genre open though, and they still made their own little style of FPS with it, just not copying Quake or Doom or other things that were obviously the starters to all of that. And this stuff was seen as more realistic. That was the stuff that gained a lot of the franchise love. That sort of COD realism. And if you remember, COD 4 and World at War were like the introductions to the greatest storylines to come from the COD games. They were simple, new, exciting, and totally filled with fucking explosions for some reason. Do you guys remember the World at War barrels? I feel like those, I'm not even joking, were the loudest noises I've ever heard ever. But we love that stuff. It was so breathtaking to a little gun, shoot, kill filled brain of a young, idiotic gamer. It all showed such a promising start to a streak from Activision, with Treyarch, Infinity Ward really carrying what they showed off best. Treyarch loved the arcadey shoot, kill, zombies, explosions type stuff, flying out of helicopters and all that, while Infinity Ward loved the more realistic stuff also mixed with shoot, kill, explosions, and it was really promising. Call of Duty Ghosts. I know a lot of you understand why I started this section with that game. Almost 10 years after the franchise started, and after World at War and COD 4, they continued to build those two different storylines. It's at a peak time in the Call of Duty franchise. Black Ops 2 is released in 2012 and is solidified as one of the greatest, most well-received shooters in gaming history, and really continues a streak of greatness from Activision and its developers with its amazing classic zombie maps and DLCs. Things are looking bright for the future of us COD nerds. They really have brought the A-game for these last few CODs, and it's been extremely fun. And then a year later, Call of Duty Ghosts happens. Ghosts in my eyes was never by any means a bad game by itself. Longevity-wise and innovation-wise, it just wasn't special. It was developed by Treyarch, Infinity Ward, who were already staples when it came to making COD games, with the addition of Neversoft and Raven Software, who were sort of newbies when it came to making these type of games, under Activision's watch. The reviews were not amazing for Ghosts, and it's still a super controversial topic on whether or not the game was good or not. It featured an original story that didn't really tie into any of the other CODs, while its multiplayer and new side game mode, Extinction, which was really just zombies, but it was alien dogs, were seen as super lackluster. I think the biggest issue was people wanted it to be something tied into something familiar, considering the whole game was based around mostly Modern Warfare 2-like things, or maybe just the fact it was overall something new in general. It seemed to diminish the excitement, and the sales were not the highest they've ever been for Activision. And it was super scary seeing Activision, the people who have done so good in the first-person shooter community, just sort of take such a big random hit because they didn't make something more familiar. And it was nuts that This is actually the start to that sort of theme. After Ghosts, Activision saw the little hit that they took and decided to not listen to any of the bad or good criticisms that they got about it, and just said, hey, I have an idea, we're going to stray away even more from what fans love and try something even newer with a development studio called Sledgehammer Games. That's how we got Advanced Warfare.
What you're seeing is Advanced Warfare.
I'm just gonna say it now. I am not super fond of this era. This was again another original story and multiplayer that did a new futuristic theme where there was new jetpack gameplay and you could boost off the ground, and this really changed the way that COD worked for a few years. Zombies was back with the new EXO theme that I actually pretty much really enjoyed, but overall there was a lot that was different, as I'm sure a lot remember. The biggest issue with Advanced Warfare was people absolutely despised how far we had drifted from casual COD. We knew it was boots on the ground and there was normal gameplay to people flying all of a sudden and calling fucking Vulcans on you. Those things are so fucking annoying. I have to admit, I didn't hate the whole jetpack thing for what it was. I more so miss not flying, and I think a lot of people would say the same. This would have been fun as a game if it wasn't Call of Duty. You know what I will say I absolutely hated about Advanced Warfare's existence? Fucking supply drops, dude. They were and always will be the most annoying thing to me. This comes at a super huge time when supply drops were pretty popular among a lot of different games, but in typical Call of Duty fashion, they seem to just immediately jump with the idea and make it everything their game revolved around, adding stuff like gear, and they added all these different variations of weapons that were never in COD before, and it just turned everything into like a giant cesspool where you just had to hear this guy scream elite in your fucking ear for the millionth time after you opened it. And I'm glad that you could get them for free. I know that's probably a good thing when it comes to cosmetics, because I know it's way worse now, but it really did some heinous shit to our next few games in the COD franchise. Black Ops 3 was the next game in the franchise, and I have to say, this game was truly, even if it was a jetpack and futuristic game, it was truly a diamond in the rough. It had the love from Treyarch, and they gave a lot of fan favorite things. Even though the theme was futuristic, it really stuck to the roots of what Call of Duty was. It had beautiful zombies with a great continuation to the zombie storyline, great gunplay, just overall it was fun. Although Black Ops 3 did do the opposite of Ghosts and Advanced Warfare, and it did not have a great campaign.
Train go boom.
Nor did the campaign follow the first two Black Ops games whatsoever, but its longevity was great. They did a good job at making this game continue through its cycle. The Zombies maps really only got better as the year went on, and Zombies Chronicles remastered some of the greatest Zombies maps from Treyarch ever, and they made us finally able to play them on next-gen consoles, which was amazing. It was such a good time to be a part of such a great community, and sticking to Activision's really interesting track record over the past few bumps they had. I still go back and play Zombies Chronicles, even custom maps on Black Ops 3. I'm glad that game exists in general, and it showed us they know how to do it correctly, but they just weren't. But I still don't feel as though it's the developers that are the issue. I'm not joking when I say I was active and played a lot of the games over the course of the next few years, and I truly don't remember a lot about these next 4 years after Black Ops 3. Infinite Warfare was the next game in the franchise, and still, like a lot of others, I don't really see the vision that they were going for with this game. It felt like Advanced Warfare in IMAX. It just seemed like a high-end Advanced Warfare. It was Infinity Ward's attempt at the jetpack Call of Duty game, and it just didn't... It's still that type of genre, just kind of letting go all of the past and just kind of making it something entirely different. It just doesn't hit for me, and I feel like it didn't for a lot of others, considering the ratings on that game are not amazing, and it's not a favored game by any means. COD 4 Remastered came out the same year as Infinite Warfare, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that game. It was a good remaster that gave us the campaign and the multiplayer they were playable, unlike some other thing that happened later. I'm almost positive Infinite Warfare was a gamble after Advanced Warfare did so bad, and I think they gave us that remaster solely for that reason, and that's really all I could see it as. A year later, COD World War II came out, and I actually, for the most part, enjoyed this game. Its story was nice, the multiplayer was relatively fun. I really liked the headquarters area that you could walk around and be with other players and like just kind of hang out in. That was kind of cool. World War II was really solid, just altogether. It had a really horrifying twist on zombies, and I think Sledgehammer did overall a good job. The issue is with this game, I think the COD franchise had a reputation now where if it's not a story game that has a recognizable title like Black Ops or like Modern Warfare, it seems to immediately get a bad rap with people just being like, I don't really care. And every other game without that sort of title with medals already on its back kinda just was gonna get bad reviews, it seemed like at this point. And I think that's kind of what happened to this game, because it's just not memorable. This game wasn't a memorable title, and it was good, but I don't think a lot of people even cared. I don't really have a super big issue with these last 3 games, as much as it might seem like there is like a big issue. Overall, the reviews were already set in when the games were announced because of how the jetpack era really was, and just how World War II came at such a bad time for the franchise. The reason I named this part even Franchise Identity Crisis is because I feel like we were in a point in time for Call of Duty games to just kind of be whatever. I don't think even Activision understood what it wanted the Call of Duty games to be anymore. It wasn't some calm little shooter with a well thought out story that broads across making an entire series with little secret game modes. It felt more like Activision just wanted to make the games for money and less for the actual enjoyment of the fans like they did before. I understand that stuff can't stay the same forever, and that's fine, but it becomes an issue when like even developers don't understand what game they're making, and it starts being pulled at 4 different corners, and all the studios are getting confused because the big head guy, Activision, is just telling them to do something with no sense of direction. I feel like the first time we really realized how lost the developers were was a year after World War II came out. The year is 2018, and fucking Fortnite is like the biggest thing ever in gaming at the moment, and it gets announced that we're getting a new COD game and it's going to be Black Ops, and that's super exciting, especially since like the last amazing COD game was Black Ops 3. It's a good feeling, but then we all freak out pretty fast because we get news almost immediately that there isn't even going to be a campaign for the game, and instead there's going to be a new game mode called Blackout alongside zombies and multiplayer. And this doesn't seem super horrifying because, I mean, we all know Black Ops 3's campaign wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it is super scary because of the fucking reasoning. Blackout was a new battle royale Activision wanted Treyarch to make for Black Ops 4, thank you Fortnite. Treyarch then proceeded to have to scrap their campaign completely for Black Ops 4 and make the entire game a Black Ops 3 remaster while filling the game with nostalgia and a horrible ending to the zombie storyline they built over the course of the last 10 years beforehand. Activision literally made them throw all of their good ideas away. The Zombies team couldn't even get the time or money to create an actual cutscene ending for the Zombies universe that they spent all this time creating. Treyarch had to use all of their resources making a subpar battle royale, all because Activision was jealous of Fortnite's success, and it completely destroyed what this game was supposed to be and solidified its spot in the top 5 worst CODs ever. And you know what's fucking insane? Is this game literally defines all Activision's plans for the future of COD. After the failure of Black Ops 4, Activision makes a good decision and tries to reboot the long-dead Modern Warfare series after the last one came out 7 years earlier, which at least shows that they were trying to return to their roots, but they weren't. Modern Warfare's story had some really cool missions. They brought back good things from the original game and added a lot to the story. The Spec Ops mode was super boring. I don't think I remember anyone even talking about it, but the fucking multiplayer, dude. The multiplayer was the most fun I've had on any COD game ever. I've truly never experienced more fun on COD than that time that I spent playing Cyber Attack and Gunfight on Modern Warfare. It was like it was made for older COD fans who love the series. With that being said, this game ruined everything and all the legacy that Call of Duty was supposed to hold. About 3 months after Modern Warfare came out, a new game mode called Warzone came out, which is no secret to be Activision's second attempt at a battle royale, but this time it fucking worked. This was its own free-to-play game, basically, that was Modern Warfare's engine in a big battle royale style, and this would have been great and super fun, and I did enjoy Warzone for a bit, as I'm sure a bunch of others did, but then they had to go and ruin it, and then they told us that they were going to prioritize the next few titles to revolve around Warzone over these next few years. I believe that this literally throws away all the importance that amazing multiplayer had. Not only had they just copied Fortnite using a battle pass system, not only were they copying their store system to a T, now they are completely ignoring what makes COD COD. They wanted to innovate into something they believed was the right move for the future of Call of Duty, which meant fully leaving the people who believed in the traditional 6v6 multiplayer type stuff in the fucking dust, dude. Openly admitting to giving up on the people who are spending money and saying that you are going to cater to the people who are getting the free game mode you're putting out is fucking insane. They're not even trying. It's like they're just throwing stuff out and expecting to get praised for it. It's honestly kind of disgusting. Like, these games are going to end up being called Call of Duty Nostalgia Fortnite Edition. Like, this isn't even Call of Duty anymore. And this sounds so stupid and so ungrateful for the game developers. And it sounds like one tiny mistake that Activision can fix, because like I said, they always climb out of their holes. But this is not a thing that they'll just fix the next game, because this is still going on to this day with the newer games. Over the last few years since 2019, we've sadly gotten 4 CODs that all match the description of dwindling more and more in quality since Warzone was released. A few months before COD 2020 was released, we knew absolutely nothing about the game, hearing rumors that Raven and Sledgehammer would be making the game together, until we learned that that idea was totally scrapped because they couldn't think of a good idea to make the game. So instead, it would be up to Treyarch to make the game. This is obviously the second time that Treyarch has been absolutely blindsided by Activision so openly. Instead of Activision making the release window larger or postponing that year's COD, which would have made sense due to COVID and other circumstances during the time, they just made it so Treyarch only had about a year to create one of the most underdeveloped games ever. Black Ops Cold War. It was obvious there was a lot of issues with this game. There was a clear downgrade from a graphical standpoint. The engine they used had to be made last second. A lot of the assets were clearly from Black Ops 4, making most of the game super recycled. The zombies was really fun, and I really enjoyed the work they put into zombies and everything, but it was clear everything, even the campaign, just couldn't get what it needed. But you know what never stopped getting what it needed? Warzone. It was like Activision just spit in the face of one of the studios that literally made them, and then they made them put out a game that costs money while focusing entirely on something people can play for free. Even the future things added to Cold War just didn't have enough to be cared about. Even if it was fun, it couldn't get the development to be good content. The game was doomed from the start. This same thing happens the next year with COD Vanguard. No development time due to having just being started before the release window, so the game is really subpar, and it's been happening for the last few years now. COD Modern Warfare 3 just came out last year, after the previous year's Modern Warfare 2. It was rumored heavy that we'd be getting no COD in 2023, but I'm guessing Activision didn't like that idea, and they couldn't handle it, so guess what? COD Modern Warfare 3 has a 3-hour campaign and has almost no development time because Sledgehammer was told last second to make the campaign with the story points that Activision wanted in it, when really Sledgehammer had another idea and was already working on something else. So they had to put everything down and crunch together this really half-assed quote-unquote game that already has everything the previous game had, and has literally just been dubbed the $70 DLC. And Warzone 3.0 has been perfectly fine, still being Activision's golden child. It just seems so useless to pretend to care about the actual games being put out to give no care to them, or even to pretend to care about the developers who created this franchise from the bottom up, or the fans who loved it originally. I don't understand the point of fighting so hard to hit a deadline of releasing a COD every year if you're not even willing to make sure it's good or prioritizing it at all. Why make Call of Duties when you're just gonna go towards the free thing and make sure that is the most fun thing, or make sure that is the thing that's thriving the most? Why even spend your time making Call of Duties at all?